afternoon, everyone. Hope I'm audible enough. In this session, I'm going to talk about uh, WB AIDS poetry, which is prescribed for you under Hardcore 2.3 20th century English poetry. Okay, in block 2, WB8's poetry selections from WB8's poetry, that is Easter 1916, Sailing to Byzantium, and the Second Coming. Yeah, regarding this poet, we all know that WB Yeats, he is an Irish poet, and he belongs to he comes under, or he figures under Irish literature, the poet, especially. In order to understand WB poetry, we need to know something about Irish literature. And what is Irish literature? This is the body of written works produced by the Irish literators, or Irish poets, writers, and so on. So, after the literatures of Greek and Latin, literature in Irish is the oldest literature we can see in Europe, dating from the 4th or 5th century CE. The presence of a dual tradition in Irish writing has been important in shaping and inflecting and influencing the material written in English literature, especially English, the language of Ireland's colonizers. So, Irish writing is, despite its unique national and linguistic characteristics, inevitably intertwined with English literature. And this relationship has led frequently to the absorption of Irish writers and the text into the canon of English literature. So, Ireland's history of conquest and colonization, of a famine and mass emigration, and of resistance, rebellion, and civil war, etched its literature with a series of ruptures and revivals. So, since the 17th century, Irish society has also simultaneously been a colonial one and an independent national one. That hybridity has been the source of endless cultural tension in Irish writing. We could able to find all this history and cultural tension, or endless cultural tradition and hybridity in Irish literature. Okay, so the shift, especially the shift, can be seen in the changing use of the term Anglo-Irish literature, which at one point of time referred to the whole body of Irish writing in English, but is now used to describe literature produced by and usually about members of the Anglo-Irish Protestant ascendancy of the 18th century. Hope you are following me. And this is all about the background of Irish literature. And the defeat of Hugh O'Neill, second Earl of Tyrone, at the Battle of Kinsale in 1601 marked the start of the gradual century-long collapse of Gaelic civilization as the dominant mode of Irish existence. So it also marked the acceleration of a long process of Protestant British colonization that would dramatically transform the land, the language, and the religion of Ireland. Out of the profound cultural trauma engendered by this process, Anglo-Irish writing emerged. So, this is all about the background of Irish literature, and in order to understand the WBAs, as I told you that we must think about this and the background or history of Irish literature and how it came into existence. So, let me start with the first one written by WB8. There is Easter 1916, which is prescribed for you this semester. Easter 1916, which published separately in 1916 and collected in Michael Roberts and the Dancer, which was published in 1921. This poem it commemorates the martyrs or martyrs of the Eastern Rising and insurrection against the British government in Ireland in 1916. So, which also resulted in the execution of several Irish nationalists whom Yeats knew personally. The poem examines the nature of heroism and its incongruity with everyday life. In this poem, he praises the martyrdom and the martyrs who sacrificed their lives for the sake of Ireland. Okay, so they also raise their voice against colonialism. That's why this poem examines the nature of heroism and its congruity. Although W. B. Yeats questions the fanaticism of the rebels and the necessity of their actions, he admires their steadfast determination. And he reluctantly celebrates their martyrdom with the repeated line, "A terrible beauty is born." And this he uses in the second coming. A terrible beauty is born. So mostly written in unabstract trimeter, the poem contains lines of iambic pentameter, iambic measures for added emphasis. So obviously this poem describes the Eastern Rising, and this event took place when Irish Republicans seeking to break off from British rule staged an uprising in the heart of Dublin. So after 6 days, hundreds of rebellions, especially rebels, people, they were killed in the fighting, and after they surrendered, the remaining rebels were shot by firing squad or executed them by hand. The poem begins by describing this history, especially this incident, which took place in 1960. That's why the poem is named after Easter 1960. Hope you are all following me. Now, again, voice breaking. Hope I am audible now. Yeah, I was talking about W.B. Yeats and Irish literature, okay, and how it came into existence. And in order to understand Irish W.B. Yeats poetry, one should know the little background or something about Irish literature. So, Easter 1916 is a very interesting poem which is named after the dark incident took place in Ireland, and how the martyrs they sacrificed their lives for the sake of their country. The poem begins by describing how the speaker had met many of these people previously, and he saw them in the street among the grey 18th century houses as they were leaving their workplaces. And they stopped in the street sometimes and engaged in small talk. And yet the speaker talked badly about these people behind their backs, because he says that he makes fun of them while sitting at the club or restaurants to make his companions laugh. Yet, with their deaths, the situation has transformed now. All changed and changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Because the poet says how once upon a time he was criticizing these men who were busy in making fun, and simply they are wasting time by talking about others and by standing on the streets and so on. And the same poet, the speaker is another than the W.B. Yeats itself, and he is just admiring their death because they have sacrificed themselves, their lives for the sake of country. So that's why he says in the first stanza, all changed because the situation has transformed now. All changed and changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. The second stanza describes some of the people who fought in the rebellion. And the first stanza mentioned, he mentioned about Constant Gore, Boot Marquez, and they described her only as that woman. And she was a suffragette and Irish nationalist who was involved in this rebellion. Though she was not executed after being captured, the poem describes her sweet voice turning shrill from arguing. And this is what he says, because not only men participated in this rebellion, but also women. Like Constance Gore, she is a Boot Marquez, and she was not even after even after being captured. But still, being a woman, she's known for her femininity and very humble and sweet voice. And she, because her voice has changed into shrill because of her nationalist notion or some patriotic, what I can say, feeling. Because of that patriotism, she had to be strong. And though she was also full of ignorant goodwill, the person described as this man is educator and the poet Patrick Piozzi. His daring and sweet helper is Thomas MacDonald, and he was an activist. He was also a poet and a playwright. The fourth person mentioned here in this poem is John McBride. So there are three important personalities in this poem on whom W.B. Yeats is talking about their martyrdom. One is Patrick Pierce, Thomas MacDonald, and John McBride. So John McBride is a major in the Irish Republican Army. McBride was married to Yeats' old friend Morgan, and whom he abused normally. This is what is meant by the lines that he had gone. He had done most bitter wrong to some who are near my heart. He had on whom he is talking about McBride, because he is an army man. Morgan was Yeats' old friend, and Yeats wanted to marry her, his ex-girlfriend. And Morgan, she doesn't. He could not able to marry her. She marries McBride. That's why he writes a line about him, saying that he had done most bitter wrong. What was that most bitter? By marrying Yeats' girlfriend, right? So he had done most bitter wrong to some who are near my heart. So this is the way Yeats was famously in love with, and what I can say, not only famously, but he was ardently in love with Morgan. Yet her ex-husband is included in the poem anyway. For her, he too has been changed in his turn. And just as the Easter Rising transformed the Dublin in the first stanza, the second stanza shows that it has transformed the people involved in it. They have given rise to a beauty that is really terrible. So the third stanza shows that the speaker's ambivalence about the Easter Rising by using nature imagery. The natural state of the world is compared to a living stream. It ebbs and flows through summer and winter. Yet the heart of these revolutionaries stands still as if enchanted to a stone. And there is something unnatural about the revolutionary heart, unlike the show of cloud which changes minute by minute. The stone stands still. It doesn't live minute by minute, and it doesn't also live. He also says that minute by minute, like the morons, all the hearts, or like a more hands, it doesn't remove. It doesn't move at all. And this is what he tries to say, that in the fourth stanza, the third stanza, that how Easter Rising by using the nature imagery, and not only people, they react and they resist against British rule, but also the nature. And in the final stanza, in the last stanza of the poem, the speaker says that too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. So these are the phrases, or I have taken from the poem itself, and he suggests that sacrificing oneself for a cause like this is too much of a burden. Okay, because so far he was praising their martyrs and their work, but at the end of this poem, in the last stanza, he says that too long a sacrifice, which means this sacrifice is too much. No need to sacrifice. At least these martyrs could have gone to the British officers and they would have sat with them and they would have requested them to give them freedom, because life is so precious according to the and he suggests that sacrificing oneself for a cause like this is too much of a burden. And he also says that England may keep faith with its promise to grant home rule to Ireland. It says that England might have accepted your request or requisition. It might have what given you grant control to Ireland, and which would mean that all the sacrifices and the death of the Easter Rising was unnecessary because he knows the value of each and every individual, right? So he suggests that an excess of love for their country and their ideology has bewildered in some revolution, especially in some moments. So these of excess love for their country and excess love of their ideology might have bewildered these revolutionaries or these rebels of Ireland. So the poem ends with the confirmation that they are still worth being remembered. The speaker suggests that our part is to murmur name upon name. Why he says it is our job to murmur name upon name. Can you able to hear me now? Or still you are facing the same problem? Am I audible? Hope I am audible now. Yeah, I am discussing about W.B. Yeats' poetry, that is Easter 1916. All the four stanzas analysis I gave you so much so far. As I told you that four of his poems have been prescribed for you this semester. To begin with, Easter 1916, Sailing to Byzantium, and the Second Coming. I started my session with giving introduction for Irish literature and about W.B. Yeats' poetic career and Easter 1916. Especially, this poem is written after a dark incident which took place in Ireland. Am I audible now? Are you able to listen to me? Okay. Then, please reply. Yeah, let me move on to the themes of Easter 1916. Sorry, the last stanza I was discussing about how uh, W.B. Yeats he suggests that an excess of love of their country as well as of their ideology and ideals has bewildered these revolutionaries. And the poem ends with a confirmation that they are still worth being remembered. The speaker suggests that our part, our role is to murmur name upon name. Why he says that one has to murmur name upon name? Because there are thousands of people they have sacrificed their lives for the sake of their country. So it is the duty of every citizen to remember and recall the sacrifice of these martyrs. So then the poem names four of the rebels. I told you Patrick Pierce, MacDonald, and what's his name, McBride, right? And even James Cannelly. These are the four important martyrs one should remember. The speaker also says that now and in time to be, these four men will be remembered in the every heart of man, of whom? Out of Irish man. And wherever green is worn, the poem then ends with the same refrain that changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. So regarding the themes of this poem, we have ambivalence is also one of the central theme of the poem. And this means having ambivalence means if at all somebody says I'm in ambivalent mood. So this means that having mixed or contradictory feelings. The speaker shows throughout the poem that one can commemorate the fighters of the Easter Rising without having to decide for certain whether or not what they did was good or right. This ambivalent attitude is clear from the repeated line, a terrible beauty is born. And this line has been repeated in the poem. Okay, and that the Easter Rising is clear from repeated line. And Easter Rising can be both terrible and as well as beautiful, which shows that certain historical events go beyond our moral judgments, and we do not have to completely support them to be moved by them and recognize them as turning points. So, what are the themes? Ambivalence, change, okay, historical destiny, sacrifice, and martyrdom. These are the important themes we find in this poem. Again, same problem. Wait, let me log out and again log in. Hope I'm audible now. Yeah, let me continue with WP8's another poem, The Second Coming, which is also considered as the best poem ever written, and this poem also quoted by many scholars, many poets who came after WP8's. Hope I am audible enough. Yeah, in this poem, the speaker describes a nightmarish scene: the falcon turning in a widening gyre and cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood dim tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. So the best people lack the conviction, but the worst are full of passionate intensity. So these are the important phrases, and surely the speaker asserts the world is near a revelation. What kind of a revelation the world is in? So shortly the second coming is at hand. No sooner does no sooner does he think of the second coming, then he is troubled by a vast image of the spiritus mundi and spiritus mundi, or the collective spirit of mankind. So somewhere in the desert, a giant sphinx, a shape with a lion body and the head of a man. The sphinx is an Egyptian image, right? Egyptian monument. which has a shape of a lion body and a head of a man. So that's why here the speaker says that somewhere in the desert, a giant, a spirit or a thing is what emerging, and the two, it has a gaze as blank as pretty as the sun, so strong and powerful, and it is moving its thighs towards Bethlehem. So while the shadows of the desert birds reel about it, the darkness drops again over the speaker's side, but he knows that the Sphinx 20, 20 centuries of stony sleep have been made a nightmare by the motions of a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, he wonders, its hour come, and especially its hour come round at last, launches towards Bethlehem to be born. So this is how the speaker assesses that some we are, or the world is near a revelation. Surely, what kind of revelation? The second coming is at hand. And what is the form of this poem? The poem is written in a very rough iambic pentameter form, but the meter is so, what we can say, the freestyle or loosely connected, and the exception so frequent that it actually seems closer to free verse style. You know the meaning of free verse style. There is no particular technique, or there is no compulsory. One should compulsory follow has to follow this kind of technique. So free verse with the iambic pentameter form, which means that frequent, not with frequent heavy stresses. So the rhymes are likewise haphazard. I think WPH has taken liberty in writing this poem by following free verse style. So, and apart from the two couplets which with the poem opens, there are only coincidental rhymes in the poem, such as man and sun. And because of its stunning, violent imagery, the Sphinx, or the terrible beauty, as he says, imagery and terrifying ritualistic language, the second coming is one of its most famous and most anthologized poems, and it is also one of the most thematically obscure and difficult to understand. It is safe to say that very few people who love this poem could paraphrase its meaning to satisfaction. It is that's what I told you. It is the most anthologized poem. If you go to any shops and if you want to buy any anthology of poetry, definitely this poem will be there. That's why it is called the most anthologized poem. In every anthology on modern poetry, you would find this poem. That's why structurally the poem is quite simple. I told you the very first stanza describes the conditions of the present world. That is, things are falling apart, and mere anarchy is prevailing, and everywhere the blood dim tide is loose everywhere. He says, which means that everywhere we can find some deaths and some riots or communal riots and so on, racial discrimination, so many other things. And the second surmises from those conditions that the monstrous second coming is about to take place. What is the monstrous second coming? First coming, what do you mean by first coming? It was the birth of Jesus Christ. But the second coming is about to take place. The two, WPH says, in second coming, not we cannot expect Jesus Christ to come, but the monstrous image is coming from the desert place. So he says that it is not of a new Messiah, but a rough beast. He is slouching its thighs towards Bethlehem, and it is rousing itself from the desert. And this brief exposition, though intriguingly blasphemous, right, is not terribly complicated. But the question of what it should signify to a reader is another story entirely. Aid spent years crafting an elaborate mystical theory of the universe that he described in his book, A Vision. This theory showed in part from WBA's lifelong fascination with the occult and mystical, and in part from the sense of responsibility WBH felt order his experience within a structured belief system. Okay, so what kind of a structure he talks about? The theory of history, WBH articulated in a vision which centers around or which centers on a diagram made of two conical spirals, one inside the other, so that the widest part of one of the spirals reigns around the narrowest part of the other spiral, and vice versa. WPX believed that this image, sphinx, okay, he called the spiral, especially the spirals and gyres, capture the contrary emotions and contrary emotions through what we can say, which was inherent within the historical process. And he divided each gyre into specific regions that represented particular kinds of historical periods, and could also represent the psychological tumult or phases of every individual's development. So this poem, which was intended by Yeats to describe the current historical moment, and as this poem appeared in 1921, in terms of these gyres or uh, spirals. So WPH believed that the world was on the threshold of an apocalyptic vision or apocalyptic revelation, as history reached the end of the outer gyre, to speak roughly, and began moving along the inner gyre. In his definitive edition of WPH poems, Richard J. Finneran quotes that Yeats' own notes, the end of an age which always to quote, here we have a critique or a scholar on WBH poem. His name is Richard J. Finneran. He says that the end of an age which always receives the revelation of the character of the next stage, which is represented by the coming of one gyre to its place of greatest expansion and of the other to its place of greatest contraction. And obviously, we have some similarities and sometimes we have dissimilarities. Right? So, uh, this is how WB8s have a thematic revelation or thematic relevance to his best of the work, best of his works, and sometimes WB8s may not be a what a philosopher in this poem, and or this poet may not be with which many people can personally identify with, and but the aesthetic experience of its passionate language is more powerful enough to ensure its value and its importance in its work as a whole. And after analyzing this poem, or after understanding this poem, you should tell me what are the important themes of this poem, and what W.B. Yeats wanted to write when he started writing this poem, what he wanted to project or what message he wanted to give. Are you still facing the same problem? And we are doing our best. Really, I don't know what to do. And the technical team is also trying to solve this problem. But due to this network issues, even they can't help us out. And let us see, please, I told you in my previous session itself, you students, please, you should mute your what you should log into classes through your student link, not through faculty link as well, because that is also creating lots of nuances in while delivering this classes, especially in these sessions. So regarding the themes of the poem, I was talking about violence. This is a response to violence is one of the major themes of this poem, as this poem is a response to a world racked by violence. And Yeats wrote this poem in 1919, right after the end of the World War, and in which 16 million people were killed in a horrifying display of the power of modern technological warfare. And he was deeply shocked by this, and he was deeply disturbed. So the poem voices a sense of shock, dismay, and pessimism about the future. that many felt after the First World War. Lines like I told you, blood dimmed tide is loosed upon everywhere, and mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Both eloquently describe the horrific chaos of war and violence. Many people felt as if there could never be another war, right? Another war after World War First. But it was even called the war to end all wars. Okay, but the optimistic people they feel like that. They thought like that that this is the war to end all the wars in the world, and the violence is one of the main theme, and even prophecy. Prophecy can also be considered as the one of the theme of this poem, and cyclicality, and because prophecy is this since this poem is deeply ominous poem, full of foreshadowing, like a mythical Greek oracles of old, delivering prophecies in the form of fragmented predictions of the future. It is full of grandiose, dramatic premonitions that do not necessarily make the future much clearer. And the next important theme is cyclicality. Okay, circles and cycles reoccur. Can you able to hear me, or again facing the same problem? Yeah, cyclicality. I was talking about that this can also be this concept, or this cyclicality can also be considered as one of the major themes of this poem, because cycles or circles it reoccur and it connects and it persistently throughout the poem. The first line describes all of existence as a widening spiral or an expanding spiral. Later, indignant birds reel or circle through the sky. So W.B. Yeats wrote the second coming during a chaotic time in world history, especially the First World War just had ended, and unprecedented violence and chaos. And chaos means no anarchy and confusion to the world, and which also there we can also find that W.B. Yeats had just witnessed the bloody Irish War of Independence, and which split Ireland into two parts, as well as the Bolshevik Revolution that tore Russia apart. Traditional borders were collapsing, and precarious new ones were being drawn or emerging. And W.B. Yeats believed, as many historians do, that history operates in cycles, with nothing lasting forever, and with events always repeating themselves. He also believed that beginnings always lead back to where they began. Right? Normally, every end has its own beginning. Right? And in the same manner, beginning, according to W.B. Yeats, always lead back to where it began. It always takes back to where it had begun. Right? To endings, to the absence of whatever constitute the circles. So, thus the poem, I can say that uh, mm, modifies the Christian faith or the Christian idea of the second coming to imply that the world is returning back to how it was before Christianity, without religious morality to guide it. And his own brother, his own father, is W.B. Yeats. I told you that uh, though he seems like is he, he is a theist, but through while portraying religious faith, or while portraying the real world picture of the world, and he acts as what we can say moralist, right? And without religious morality to guide it, and without an ethical compass to lead it into the future. And he says this this is the case which is taking us back to before Christianity. So Christianity is also forms one of the major themes, and meaninglessness. This is about as this poem is about loss, about change, and about traditional meanings and values coming apart the meanings. And the next poem what is prescribed for you this semester is sailing to Byzantium. Okay, Byzantium and sailing to Byzantium. W.B. Yeats um, is a very well-known Irish poet, and this especially he is veteran in using symbols. Okay, in order to glorify, in order to beautify his poetry. Byzantium is the title of his poem. By in this poem, we can find this poem is loaded with symbols, and this is a symbolic poem that started life as a note in the diary of W.B. Yeats in 1930. And he would long been an admirer of Byzantine art. You might have heard Byzantine art and museum or art and culture, and wanted to combine. W.B. Yeats wanted to combine this passion with his belief in the spiritual journey of the artistic human soul. And he himself he wrote in a letter that describe Byzantium as it is in the system towards the end of the first Christian millennium. A walking mummy, flames at the street corners where the soul is purified. Yeah, a walking mummy. I was talking about. He just tries to portray the flames of the street corners where the soul is purified. Birds of hammered gold singing in the golden trees. In the harbor, dolphins offering their backs to the waiting dead that they may carry them to paradise. So it's developed this initial scene into a five stanza dream-like drama, and this is packed with symbols and illusions and visual strangeness. It has a sister poem, Sailing to Byzantium, published earlier in 1925. This is Byzantium, which was published in 1930, but the earlier poem, which was a sister poem, Sailing to Byzantium, which was published in 1925, just the 5 years gap. And although the reader is aware of being grounded in some sort of historic city, Byzantium started life as a Greek colony before becoming Constantinople under the Romans, and is now modern Istanbul. Earlier it was considered as Constantinople. Now it is a modern Istanbul. The feeling persists that this could all be someone's exuberant dream laid bare in the imagination of Yeats. So this is how Yeats wanted to glorify his writing skill, beautify his poetry by using so many other symbols. The narrative is both impersonal and personal. What kind of a narrative technique he has used in this poem, which is personal as well as impersonal. The speaker commentates from a distance, then comes closer to the reader with detailed first-person description. Here we have a first-person narrative. Okay, and there are repeated words, and we have a rhyming scheme, ambiguous phrases, and allusions to mythology and real experiences and unreal experiences. So many things, all kept under control by long and shorter. Mostly iambic, especially what kind of technique he uses in writing this poetry, any kind of literary form, just iambic, simple iambic form with the layering lines. And it is known fact that uh, Yeats had a great enthusiasm for the ancient culture of Byzantium. Hope you all following me. And this is true that Yeats had a great enthusiasm for the ancient culture of Byzantium, and he believed it represented the ideal, and that the community who lived and worked there somehow united in spiritual and artistic purpose. So artistic achievement was proof of his heightened awareness. W.B. Yeats, he was also a restless, questing individual too, and he was not just a poet or a philosopher or a critic or what not, but he was also a restless soul, a questing individual who, although not conventionally religious, I told you he was not. He never ever labeled himself as a religious person, but still, church going, as according to the critics, they say that although not conventionally religious in a church going sense or experimented with or actively pursued alternative spiritual goals, but still he became seriously involved in theosophy, and he had literally studied what he has literally studied philosophy, theology seriously, and that's why which made the studying of these two broad areas, which will which have made him to become a very strong religious point, and he became seriously involved with theosophy, the Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and spiritualism. And in his esoteric philosophical work, a vision, WB8 sets out this world of his and how humanity fits into a cosmic system of existence. And for him, for especially for AIDS, the cultural and the artistic energies of Byzantium were a perfect form. Okay, what is the artistic excellence according to WBS? The cultural and artistic energies of Byzantium were were a perfect form, and this is how he says that um, we should understand, like WBS was provoked into writing Byzantium because that he doesn't want to be highly artistic at the same time, not highly philosophic. Okay, so instead he is such an interesting character that the imagery he uses in his poems are very intense and fantastical, and the atmosphere is so dark and often surreal. That's why Byzantium, the poem, has become the setting for the regeneration of human souls that undergo transformation involving metaphysical fire and water, which is illumination and purification. And thus, it was provoked into writing Byzantium because a friend of his had a criticism of the previous poem of this scene, especially Sailing to Byzantium, where W.H. thought that he needed to clarify an issue concerning the golden bird and its relation to the natural world. And this is all about themes of Byzantium. There are many themes interwoven in this poem, as it was published in 1930, and some says that this might have published in 1932. Okay, but still, what are the themes interwoven in these poems? One is the battle between immortality and the creative process. Then human imperfection and the perfected form of art. Then the nature versus art. Then this poem also imbibes in it the spiritual regeneration through aesthetics. And the last but not least, we have a tension between terrestrial life and the soul life in this poem. So there are many symbols he uses. I told you that according to him, there are intellectual symbols which evoke ideas alone, ideas mingled with emotions. The dome, the golden bird, the flames, the dolphins, the sea, so many other things. And that's why Byzantium is a poem about the imagined spiritual and artistic rebirth of humanity, which involves the purging of spirits as midnight arrives and their final journey to enlightenment on dolphin across the sea. So let me move on to the last poem of this session, that is Sailing to Byzantium, which was published in 1925, as I told you, because I wanted to talk about Byzantium, uh, then about Sailing to Byzantium. After understanding Byzantium, you can get a connection with that, the previous one. And in this poem, to analyze this poem, the poet here talks about the country where the speaker is in, which does not suit for the old men. And this poem begins abruptly, and he says that this land is not for old men, and it is full of bounty with fish in the water and birds in the trees. So the young and the reproductive are caught in the earthly cycle of life and death. So he says that only young and energetic people can only live in this cycle of life and death. But this country is not for no more for old men, and they do not heed the ageless intelligence. And old men can be mere pathos. He says by the time he started writing this poem, he has even WB8 was also had also become old. Okay, so that's why he says that out of his own personal experiences, he says an old man or woman can be mere pathos. And to escape this fate and to get away from his too vital country, the aged people or the aged speaker has sailed to Byzantium. He says that then which is the land which is you have the old men are supposed to live, and he comes up with the answer in the same poem. That's why being an aged speaker, he wants to sail to Byzantium. Why Byzantium? Because Byzantium is known for its beautiful structures and architecture and philosophy, spirituality. It is the center of spirituality. It is the center of art and artistic talents. Okay, that's why he asked them to move on in a gyre and take him away to death. He has a living heart fastened to a dead body. And this is WBA's most famous poem about aging. Okay, and if I ask you, anybody likes to be aged, likes to be grow old soon? No, none of us, right? So that's why, and we have to read this poem because this poem truly deals with aging, and this is this forms an important theme here. This is a theme that preoccupies with the poet W.B. Yeats throughout the other poem Tower. So Byzantium was an ancient Greek city which W.B. Yeats draws on for its decadent associations. And the Byzantine Empire was centered on Constantinople. Now it is renamed as Istanbul. Okay, once upon a time it was a capital city of a Roman emperor, and that's why this poem traces the speaker's movement from youth to age, young to old, and the corresponding geographical move from Ireland, a country just being born, and especially where the poet was born. W.B. Yeats felt that this land is no longer belong to old men, and as the young in brutality were caught up in what he calls the sensual music, this is all the allure of murder in the name of republicanism, which actually which disgusted W.B. Yeats. And as I told you, how this Byzantium is known for its art and artistic things. The speaker thinks that by escaping to Byzantium, he can escape from the conflict between burning desire and a wasted body and an old body. So once there, especially once he reaches that place, he pleads to God's sages to take away his life, meaning his body, because he also believes in he also believes in by being there in Byzantium, as it's a God's place. He expects that he requests the gods to take angels to take away his physical body so that his soul will gets its rebirth. And he also maybe believed in life after, or afterlife, or eternal life, or spiritual life. Okay, yeah, I'm really sorry after seeing your messages, because when I checked and when I sought um, support from the technical team, they really trying their best to solve this problem. But this problem not only with me, in every teacher is facing the same problem from all the streams. from all the background, all the branches, social science people and even other school of languages people, they're also facing the same problem. So don't worry, that's what I'm saying. Our lessons or our lectures will be recorded, and you can again get a chance to revisit this recordings. So I'm not wasting my time, because my lecture is recording, no, so that you can at least listen to me, and at least you can when you visit our official video, or when you search in YouTube channels, at least you can able to hear my voice and lecture there. That's why I even switched off my video, because it sometimes it may consume data more, or at least in order to support my lecture, audio is important. Yeah, as I was discussing about Byzantium and how it is very important, and as it is, he portrays as this is a God's own place. And this poem is, what I can say, he beautifies the city, and the Byzantium Empire was centered on Constantinople, where once upon a time it was the center of all kinds of activities, art, architecture, or scholarship, and intellectuality, and so on. The speaker thinks that by escaping to Byzantium, he can escape the conflict from burning desire and a wasting body. And WPS also imagines this process as being consumed by a healing fire that will allow his body to take on any form he wishes. Because Byzantium has got such a magical place it is, and whatever you wish there, according to WPS, and it will definitely reach you soon. It will reach you soon. So the idea of our elders waiting upon God is not familiar from any Western religion or theosophy, but it's all possible in its ideology or its imagination, and he visualized the things in such a way. And that's why the speaker here in this poem, he decries the absurdity of the contrast between his old body and his young spirit. And this is how he portrays the what the second sorry say this poem, the first poem of sailing to Byzantium, as it is a twin poem, sailing to Byzantium as well as the Byzantium. And once there, he pleads to God's sages to take away his life, meaning his body. This stanza is suggestive of WBA's religious beliefs, as he wrote this collection after his turn to theosophy. The idea of elders waiting upon God is not familiar from any other religion, or not acceptable under any theosophy, which holds that all spiritualities hold some measure of truth. Yates imagines this process as being consumed by a healing fire that will allow his body to take on any form he wishes. And his second, to become a mechanical bird or a golden bird, which alludes to the Byzantine Emperor Theophilus. According to the legend, he had just such mechanical birds, and it is just the poet's wish to be granted a body immune to death and to sing forever. And he wanted to be there in Byzantium in a form of a golden fish made by the Grecian goldsmiths, and he wants to sing the song of the achievements of the emperor, like how, according to mythology, how Theophilus uh, emperor became a golden bird on the golden tree. Okay, this is all about WB Yeats poetry, and uh, if you, I think, as you not able to hear anything, you can ask me questions when you meet me in offline class, which will be starting from 19th. Thank you. Hope you understood the poems what I had discussed in this session. At least few, and a few, some are uh, facing some had to face all these problem technical stands, and I think some of you have you are able to listen to my lecture. Thank you.
Very, very good afternoon, students. Welcome to this last class of the day. You might have been bored attending classes since morning, but you need to attend because we are here to teach you a few of the important aspects of English literature. Being the second year students, this is my third class for you, and since two classes we have dealt with few of the important poems, and today I'm going to deal with one of the greatest novels in English literature, that is written by Charles Dickens. And how many of you like to read question? How many of you uh, love to read novels? Most of us, we don't have the habit of reading. As I told you before, unless and until if a literature students have the habit of reading, you will not able to prosper. Please cultivate the habit of reading whatever the bulky text it is. So I'm not talking to you in perspective of the examination, but as the lover of literature, I tell you, please cultivate the habit of reading. Here, before I begin this particular text, I'm not going to explain very deep in detail because it is a very simple text for you people to go through. I tell you again and again, please don't go through the secondary materials like guides to prepare for your examination. First, you read the original text first. Then you go back to the secondary material. And there are very, very important questions which are set on the particular text. Definitely, there will be a question. There will be a question or one or two based on this particular novel, Great Expectations. Look at the title. I'm going to show you. Boys, go just look at the title here, Great Expectation. And what is the difference you find here? How this particular novel is entitled Great Expectations. Remember, students, the title of the story is not The Great Expectations. There is no article here, only Great Expectations. Look at the title there, written by uh, Charles Dickens. It is one of the famous novels which I have read and which I enjoyed a lot. Before I just begin explaining about this particular novel, let us understand who is Charles Dickens and what are his major contributions to English literature. Such a promising novelist had a unpromising birth, and he has a unpromising. He's a great writer, as I'm keep on repeating you again and again, and he has a unpromising birth. He was born on 7th of February 1812 in Port Sea near Portsmouth. At the time of his birth, his parents were so poor that they were unable to make both the ends meet. His father, John Dickens, was a clerk at Navy at pay office, Navy pay office. He was a man of wavering and unstable temperament. He incurred debts, and after struggling with them in his native town for so many years, his father, and he shifted to London and later on to Cham- Chatham when Dickens was 9 years old. Remember, Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens had lots of struggle when he was very young. when he was very young. Had to struggle a lot to meet day-to-day life. So his father shifted to many of the places when Charles Dickens was only 9 years old. So he was educated in so many schools there, and as the age progresses, as Charles Dickens grew, he was able to produce greatest writings in his life. And what are the major contribution, and how he wrote, and what are his contribution to English literature? And Great Expectation is one of the major contribution to English literature, and he has written, just a minute, I'll just pull out, yeah, A Tale of Two Cities, David Copperfield, Hard Times, Little Dormet, and Edward Dot, and all these are very, very popular texts. Remember, he never had the intention of reading his stories at the university level. It doesn't have it doesn't have the habit of making him very popular at the university level, but he had the intention of telling the people, telling the public, and how he has contributed to English literature. And to speak few things about his novel, that is Great Expectations. What is the title suggest to us? And I'm going to show you one thing. Just look at the picture here. Look at the picture there. Great Expectations. A boy who just sees a lots of expectations in his life. And entitled is a boy's name is Pip, and usually, and he is named after Pirrip, but he doesn't know how to pronounce his name. But later, he was going to be called as Pip. So just a minute, 1 minute. Yeah, am I audible, students? Yeah, students, am I audible? Can you please can you please can you please hear me? Am I audible? Students, am I audible? Please text me. Please text me there, please. Am I audible? Hello. Students, can you hear me? Students, can you hear me now? Students, am I audible? Students, am I audible? Sorry, students. Today, lots of network issue, and I have been trying past 10 minutes to get it connected. And sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah, I was talking to you about the great expectations, where the main character around whom the story revolves is the Pere, and who himself calls as Pip later in the story, and you will be called as Pip. So this particular text, just a minute, I'm going to tell you and how the story develops from one corner to the another corner. This particular text has got how many chapters? There are 59 chapters in this particular play. There are 59 chapters. Each chapter has its own significance. Let me summarize each chapter in 5 or 6 lines. Then you will be then you will be able to understand it properly. Please take down the pencil in your hand. Take down a few of the important points which I'm going to tell you. And the Pip introduces himself and the members of the family, and he lives in. And where he lives in the family, he introduces himself and the old members of the family to the readers. He goes to the next, what he does. After introducing each of the characters and members of the family, he just tells, and he goes, remember, is an orphaned child. Orphaned child in the sense, Pip doesn't have any parents. He's taken care of his sister. So parents are not there. He's an orphaned child. So introduces all the characters which are there in the family to the readers. He goes to the graveyard where his parents were buried. And there he meets a fearful man who asks about his whereabouts. The old man wants Pip to bring file and vitals, or else he would have his heart and liver out. When Pip goes out to the burial ground to meet the parents, to see the burial ground to the place where the parents were buried, he meets an old man. He just tells, "Go home and bring me something to eat, or else I will kill you." That means he means to say that he would have his heart and liver, means he would kill him. So Pip promises to bring him the file and the vitals and departs from the mortuary field to his house. This is the first chapter where we can see Pip is introduced to us, and we are told that he is an orphaned child. He doesn't have parents, and he is brought up by his own sister, and he goes to the graveyard to see the uh, place where the parents were buried, and the old man comes there and threatens him to bring something, and just telling the old man that if he's going to bring back something, and he goes out and disappear among the bushes or among the marsh. So this is the first chapter. It's quite bulky one, but I try to summarize it in few of the lines, because remember there are 59 chapters. Why I'm giving more emphasis on this particular text is definitely there will be one or two questions on this particular text. Later, I'm going to tell you how to prepare for the examination and what are the questions that are going to be asked in examination, probable questions, and how to prepare yourselves based on this text, Great Expectations. So there are 59 chapters, out of which the first chapter is told to us, where Pip is introduced along with the other characters. Let us move on to the second chapter. I'll try to summarize it in few 5 or 6 lines. Pip receives a harsh treatment from his sister. He comes to know that Joe and that some of the convicts have escaped themselves from the Hulk, the prison ships. Pip, however, leads the restless night. He doesn't eat his share and keeps his reserved food. That means we are told that Joe, one more character is introduced to us, Joe, that is the brother-in-law of Pip. And when he comes there home, just he's told that some of the convicts means what? Criminals have escaped from the prison, and the police people are after them to catch. So whatever the share is given to him, he doesn't eat it in a particular place, and he just reserves it for the next day. And let us see what happened. And he keeps on thinking about an old man with whom he has met in the previous day at the graveyard. So this is the second chapter. Third chapter, let us see what happens. And early in the morning, Pip gets up and walks. And because the old man has been waiting there in the graveyard, waiting for Pip to come. Remember, Pip is instructed to bring some food from his own house to the graveyard where he's waiting. So he steals some food from the kitchen and runs to the battery to hand over the food to the convict. Remember, the old man is none other than the convict. He is an escaped convict who is hiding himself in the graveyard. Pip doesn't know it. Pip doesn't know that he is a criminal, but when he was instructed to bring some food, just he steals some of the foods and goes to the graveyard to hand over the food to that particular person who is waiting 2 days or one day. He comes across another convict in the way who soon disappears away. Then he serves the food to the convict who eats like a dog. And lots of description there in the third chapter, where the convict eats like a gluttony. What is a gluttony? Gluttony means a person who is born to eat. Remember, this convict whom Pip has met hasn't eaten food for many days. When Pip brings food and he eats like a dog, just you people might have observed and how the dog eats. If I give something to the dog, dog eats so fast, as if the dog hasn't eaten for many months or many years. So let us see how the story progresses from this line. The convict then goes on to search for the man Pip he met on the way. So after eating, he disappears, and he has in his mind that Pip has helped him a lot. So this is chapter number 3 comes to an end. Okay, let us see. There is a question. It's not a dramatic beginning here in the first this one, where Pip is introduced to us, and he introduces himself as Pip because he's christened as Pip, and he's an orphaned child where when he was very young, both his parents died, and he was taken care of his sister. So when he introduces himself as Pip, and then the story begins there. It's not a dramatic beginning there. And lots of expectations from this young child. And let us continue with the 4th chapter. When Pip returns home, he finds that his sister hasn't discovered anything about the theft in the kitchen. He goes to the church with Mrs. Joe, and then the party consisting of and lots of characters which are introduced to us here. Lots of characters which are introduced to us here. Wolfsey, Habel, and Uncle Pumblehook arrives. Soon Mrs. Joe prepares the tables to serve the dishes, and the party of soldiers arrive there. After giving food there to the convict, and when he comes home and he discovers that, he's happy to discover that his sister Joe doesn't find that he has stolen some of the food articles from the kitchen. So lots of people have come there, and he goes along with his uncle to the church. After going to the church, he comes along with his uncle to the house, where he could find lots of people there in his sister's house, and the sister is preparing his dinner table or dining table to serve for the other people. Meanwhile, lots of soldiers arrive to our house. So there will be a question, why lots of soldiers arrive? Why military people arrive to our house? So this is where the 4th chapter ends. This is where the 4th chapter ends. Let us see the 5th chapter, how the story how the story progresses to 5th chapter. Okay, and when the soldiers come there, and the soldiers ask, the military people ask Joe and Pip and they inquire about the people who are hiding in the nearby places, and they are none other than the escaped convicts. Convict means criminals. They have escaped from the prisons, and they are there hiding in a, graveyard or in the nearby bushes. So both Joe and Pip, both of them were questioned about the hiding convicts, and they come over to the particular place and they arrest the hiding criminals and they take back to the prison again. This is chapter number 5. Chapter number 6. Pip comes back home on Joe's back. As Pip was sleepy before, they were too far away from the prison shop. Joe took him on his back to the back home and carried him. As he came to himself, he found Joe telling about the convict's confesses, all the visitors suggesting that different ways which a convict had gone into the pantry. And when Joe carries a Pip on his back, and he tells and how he had encountered with the criminals and how criminals have told lots of things about the positive things about the prison, about the life to Pip. And he couldn't walk because Joe and Pip have gone too far from his own house, along with the military people, to arrest the hiding prisoners. So he had to be carried by Joe to home. This is how chapter number 6 comes to an end. Chapter number 7, there, it's quite interesting. And we learn about Pip, more about Pip here. Pip learns how to write and read with the help of Biddy and grand aunt Upal. Is wanted by Miss Havisham. Havisham is one more character. Remember, students, Miss Havisham. Look at the word Miss, M-I-S-S, Miss Havisham. And she is a very, very prominent character in this novel, Great Expectations. And we are told by the author in the later part of the story where she remains in her wedding dress for 20 years. She remains in her wedding dress for 20 years. It is because on the day of her marriage, her fiance has cheated her and he has gone away to some other place without marrying her. With lots of depression, she remains in her marriage long white dress for 20 long years. So that's why she is one of the prominent figures in Great Expectations. As we learn more about her as the story progresses, I'll tell you more about her. And there is one more girl is brought up by Miss Avisham. That is, I'll tell you the name later. I'm not going to tell the name now. And she is brought up by her. And with the help of Joe, that is uncle of Pip, and Pip is brought to Miss Havisham's house to serve, to be taken care. And when he comes there, he discovers lots of things which he doesn't like. Even the adopted child of Miss Avison tries to play fool with Pip. Pip has a lots of expectations in his life because he doesn't have the clear understanding about his life, because his birth is not that much of importance. His parents died when he was very young, and he was brought up and taken care by the sister. Sister is quite younger to husband. Joe, that is father-in-law, uncle I'm talking about, brother-in-law I'm talking about, of Pip, is quite older. He doesn't understand about the family life, but she is very, very strict. Joe's sister, that is Pip's sister, is very strict. And Joe, that is the brother in law of Pip, is the one who suggests Pip to be given to Miss Havisham's house so that he will be cultured and he will be having, or he will be learning few of the good morals in his life. He goes there to Pip's Miss Havisham's house, but whereas he is insulted, he is insulted by the brought up child of Miss Havisham. And when he goes there, he falls in love with that particular child. Child in the sense that girl. So when he goes there and he is humiliated and he wants to change himself and he wants to learn one of the good and best things about life. And this is how the chapter number 7 comes to an end. And chapter number 8 there, and Pip is received in Stacy's house. He meets Mrs. Havisham and Miss Stella. That is the name of the character. That is the brought up child of Miss Havisham, Stella, and she is in rich clothes. Stella is in rich clothes, and she wants to uh, be a good child to Miss Havisham. Remember, Estella is the brought up or adopted child of Miss Havisham. Because remember, as I told you before, she remains in her wedding dress for 20 long years. And she doesn't want the other people to be happy. The satirical thing is, Mrs. Miss here, the satirical thing here is Miss Avison tells or induces the poison of desire there in Stella's heart, and I am not happy here. I want others not to be happy. Look at the psychological aspect there. And Estella, that is the only reason Estella tries to make humiliation of the others, make the humiliation of the others. And Pip comes there, whenever Pip comes there, it doesn't, he is not given respect, and he is humiliated by Estella. So there are major characters. The story is shifted from Pip's family to Mrs. Estella's family here. That is Mrs. Havisham's family. So that is the reason why we need to understand the psychological aspects of a character. Psychological aspects of a character. Students, do you have any questions to ask? I'll stop here for a moment. Do you have any questions to ask? If you want me to teach the entire text, it will take 5 hours. But I'll try to summarize it. I'll try to finish it today or tomorrow. Yeah. Is there any questions to ask? Please ask me. Yeah, there was a question asked by a student, what are the main themes of the novel? I'll tell you. What are the main themes? I'll tell you. Before understanding a text, it is merely waste of understanding the theme of the novel. So here, Miss Avison wants Miss Estella not to make the others happy here, not to make the people happy here. And this is how the chapter number 8 comes to an end. And chapter number 9 there, Pips comes back to his forge. He hides many details from Mrs. Joe and tells Mr. Joe that he's very miserable to have gone to Mrs. Havisham's house because there is a beautiful young lady who is dreadfully proud, and that she said is coming, and he knows that is common, and he wishes to be not common. And he is humiliated there, even though he is humiliated and he has fallen in love. And this is the turning point in Pip's life. He wants to be educated. He wants to be educated. Yeah, I'm talking about Miss Avison. Yeah, there is a question, is it important to focus on characterization? Yeah, this is the important character which I'm talking about, around whom the story takes a long shape there. So lots of things that change, and this is the uh, place where Pip's life changes, and he wants to be civilized, he wants to be educated, and he wants to learn how to write and read, and already has fallen in love with Estella. Great expectations, lots of expectations in his life. Remember, he is an orphan child, he is an uneducated child. Before that, when he met Estella, he wants to be educated, he wants his life to take a different shape, he wants the society to turn back to him and see how Pip has progressed in his life. That is the reason why Pip's expectations are growing more and more. So, chapter number 10 here, Pip goes to the public house in the village where Joe used to smoke his pipe. There he meets a stranger who goes on staring at him. And in chapter number 10, and he goes to a public house there and he meets a stranger, and the conversation starts about the outlook of life. This is chapter number 10. Chapter number 11 there, Pip goes to Mrs. Avisham's house again on the appointed day. After playing cards with Estella, he comes out into the garden where he has to face a duel. He wins over the opponent by knocking down badly. Delighted with heroism, Estella offers her cheek to be kissed by Pep. Pep kisses Estella. Look at the development. And he's not a coward person. As I told you before, he's not a coward. He's not only a brave man. Remember the first chapter when he goes to the graveyard where his parents were buried, and when the stranger threatens him to bring food from the house, without saying a word, he goes and brings. But here, after coming to Miss Havisham's house, when it defeats a person, and Estella gives a cheek to kiss, and Pip kisses. And I don't say there is a tremendous change in him, but there is a little bit of progress. There is a little bit of progress in his life. And now he learns to know the things in his life. He learns to know things in his life. So this is chapter number 11. Chapter number 12 is also a very small one. I'll try to finish this one and I'll concentrate little bit about the themes before I conclude. Don't worry, tomorrow also we'll continue and I will wind up tomorrow. And chapter number 12, Pip gets more and more usual with Miss Havisham and Estella, and all of a sudden he is asked by Miss Havisham to make himself an apprentice to Joe, the blacksmith. And there is one more character here, Mr. Joe. There is a boy, and who is a servant there. And finally, and he is asked by Miss Avison to be an apprentice. An apprentice. Apprentice means the beginner, the person who learns to with Joe. And Pip had a different notion, and he is in love with Estella, but is asked to be an apprentice with with Joe. This is chapter number 12. Chapter number 13, Pip and Joe go to Mrs. Avisham's, where Miss Avisham offers 25 guineas, where Pip has earned for as a premium. That means on Sunday morning when they go there and they offer him the wages for his work. That is chapter number 13. And lots of conversation. I don't want to go in detail, but I'll try to summarize it. And chapter number 14 there, Pip begins to hate his home. He becomes an expert, an apprentice to love the work is assigned to him. It is because he is already in love with Estella. And he doesn't want to be with the family, along with his sister, along with his brother-in-law. And he always wants to spend some time and quality of time with Estella and Miss Avison. Chapter number 15 there, Pip pays a visit to Miss Avisham's, and is told that Estella has gone abroad. A shocking news is told to Pip that that girl Esther has gone abroad. Miss Havisham asks him if he feels that he has lost her. When he comes back home, he finds that a number of people are attending Mrs. Joe, who has been badly hurt by bows. That means again he visits, and he doesn't want always to visit his home, but when he visits Mrs. Havisham's place, and Mrs. Havisham tells Pip that Estelle has gone abroad, and he feels hurt. And when he comes home, he comes to know that his sister is severely hurt when she faced the bows there. I'll stop here for a moment. And what are the things you need to concentrate from your examination point of view? And few of the questions, probable questions, which I'm going to discuss now. Great expectations deal with the theme of moral conviction or change of heart. The theme of moral conviction or change of heart. This is what is the use of novels in society, especially English novels? I'll try to answer this question later. Yeah. Justify the title Great Expectations. Yeah, I'll just try to tell you. And the theme of moral conviction or change of hearts. Or the question may be framed like this: Dickens does not hate the evil does it, but believes in the power of natural conversation or change of art. Discuss in the light of Great Expectations. And this is one more thing. And second is, what is the central theme of Great Expectations and how it is developed? Discuss how Dickinson handles the theme of money as an agent of isolation in its Great Expectations, or consider Great Expectations as a satire of servility towards rank and wealth. This is also one of the main themes. And another is discuss Dickinson's novel Great Expectation as a social satire, or how it is a riddle, and how the Great Expectations portrays vividly a society riddled with injustice, greed, and cruelty, or representation of Victorian society that emerged from reading Great Expectations. Students, always remember, writing pages and pages and pages together will fetch you good marks. Always remember, quality is more important than quantity. If you write half a page to the question which is asked, if your answer is very, very quality one, you will get good marks. If your answers are pages and pages and pages and together with lots of quantity, it won't give you good marks. It won't give you good marks. So, my dear students, what I'm telling is, please read the entire textbook once. It is very difficult for you to read the novel, but you have to cultivate the habit of reading. Being the English literature students, please read. By reading, I'm going to answer that particular question: what is the use of reading novels in the society? Today we have our own way of life. How many of us know about what had happened in the past? Remember, English literature always tells about the life which has happened in the past. And we will come to know what kind of society that was existing in those days. You people have learned about, uh, since you're first year students, second year students. Semester, you people have read about Dr. Faustus, written by Christopher Marlowe, about black magic, about how Dr. Faustus aspires to be the master of the universe. Master of the universe. And at the end, he tells, at the end, when he comes to know, when the 24 years of that contract comes to an end, he tells, and he regrets himself. And we will come to know what kind of society that was existing in those days. As I am going to give you a few of the quotes from Dr. Faustus there. There he tells, when the 24 years of contract comes to an end, first lots of good angels come and tell him, change yourself. Dr. Faustus, thou must change. He doesn't heed to his words. At the end, he has to face the consequences. Before the devil comes and takes his soul to hell, and he tells, and he addresses, when only 1 hour left for the devil to come and kill him, he tells, "Oh soul, turn yourself into a tiny drop of water, and may you be lost in the vast ocean which can never be found again." O soul, turn yourself into a tiny drop of water and fall and be lost in the vast ocean which can never be found again. And we come to know the society of those days. By reading the story, we come to know what kind of people and how the society was, and how the society treats the people, and how the people treat one another. And even today, famous novelist Chetan Bhagat and Sudhamurthy's novel. How many of you have read about Sudhamurthy, Grandmother's Story, or Bakula and Gentle Falls a Flower? How many of you have read? Read, and Chetan Bhagat's one more story. girl in room number 102. How many of you? Please cultivate, even if you want to enjoy literature, please learn or cultivate the habit of reading. It took 2 days. It's quite bulky book. It took two day. I took 2 days to complete that particular book, Chetan Bhagat's Girl in room number 103 or something. Once if you start reading, definitely it will make you the life. Sorry, your reading habit will improve. So by reading what is prescribed for your textbook will not make you a good lover of literature. So we will try to continue tomorrow or day after tomorrow, and I'll try to max. I'll try to finish. Maybe you people will be having offline classes from next week onwards, or wherever you are. We are going to visit your study centers in the days to come before your examination begins, and we will try to complete it. And face-to-face interaction will clarify lots of doubts. Students, do you have any questions to ask? Tomorrow we will continue, and I'll try to finish this particular text. Why I'm giving more importance to this particular text, Great Expectations, written by Charles Dickens, is lots of questions. Definitely 1 or 2 questions will be there for 5 or 10 marks or 15 marks or 20 marks. Students, do you have any questions to ask? Don't worry, there will not be a question on the title. Definitely there will be a question on the, maybe question will be on characters, the themes will be there, like that. Yeah, students, do you have any questions to ask? Please ask me. Otherwise, we will wind up. We'll meet tomorrow. Please message me in the inbox so that I can reply. Don't expect a teacher to finish the entire textbook in one hour. To teach Great Expectations, it will take 3 to 4 days for a teacher to complete that too, to summarize it. It's quite a bulky book. You should have gone through the textbook. Lots of things are there to learn. And just I'm trying to put it in a nutshell so that you will get some of the important points which are going to helpful for your examination point of view. Examination point of view. Examination point of view. So these are the things you need to concentrate. You need to concentrate. Any other questions, please? Please ask me. If you have any doubts, you are most welcome to ask or clarify your doubts. Our most of our professors' numbers are there in the net in www.ksy.in website, English department. If you go there, please consult us, ask few questions so that we are always ever ready to help you and clarify your doubts. Go to website, go to English department. There you can find the faculty's number. They will clarify your doubts. No teacher tells that he or she is busy. They will try to clarify. You can ask any questions. Yeah, students, don't ask me about lots of students. They ask me, sir, please ask me to make me to join in WhatsApp group or so. We don't have any WhatsApp group created by us. Maybe students have created themselves. We have only the Telegram group. Maybe most of you have joined there. We don't have anything as such. Okay, students, take care. May God bless you. We'll do tomorrow. Thank you, students.